Jai Mahamaya ki Jai, Lord Baba ki Jai. In our last discourse, we learned about Lord Vishnu's beautiful yagya that he did to the Divine Mother and the repercussions from that. Now we'll go on to chapter 14. King Janmajaya spoke. I have heard in detail the Devi yagya performed by Sri Vishnu. Now describe the Devi's glories and her glorious deeds. After hearing these, the Divine Mother's glorious deeds, I will perform that the best of all sacrifices. Thereby I will no doubt be pure through your favor. Vedavyasa said, O king, here I am describing to you the history of the most auspicious mighty deeds of the Divine Mother, according to the Puranas. In days of yore, there reigned in the country of Kosala the king Dhruva Sandhi of the solar dynasty. He was the son of Pushpa and celebrated on account of his great powers. He was truthful, religious, engaged in doing good to his subjects, obeying the laws and of all the ashrams, and he being pure performed his regal duties in the flourishing city of Ayodhya. The Brahmanas, Ksatras, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and other good persons all lived religiously under his rule, each abiding by his own profession. No thieves, chiefs, cunning persons, vain and arrogant persons, treacherous and illiterate men were allowed to remain in his kingdom. O best of Kurus, thus ruling virtuously, the king had two wives, both of them young, fair, and beautiful, and well able to give delights and enjoyments to the king. The first and lovely wife was Manorama, and the second wife was Lilavati. Both of them were exceedingly handsome, intelligent, and very well qualified. The king enjoyed much with them. In palaces, gardens, romantic hills, lakes, and various beautiful mansions. In the auspicious moment, Manorama gave birth to a beautiful child endowed with all the royal qualifications. The child was named, in due course, Sudarsana. Next, within 1 month, his second wife, the fair Lilavata, in the auspicious fortnight and in the auspicious day, gave birth to an excellent child. The king then performed the Jata Karma ceremonies on the birth of a child, and being very glad, made lots of presents, wealth to all the Brahmins. The king showed affection equally to the two children. Never did he make any distinction between them. The king, the tormentor of foes, was very glad and performed duly all the ceremonies according to his position and wealth. The sight of those two sons delighted him very much. The people, now seeing these sons and playing, now seeing his sons and playing, the king was merged in the ocean of pleasure. Sudarsana was the eldest, but Satyajita, the second beautiful son by Lilavati, was of sweet and persuasive speech. His beautiful figure and sweet words gave very much delight to the king, and for these qualities the child Satyajita turned out also a favor of the people and the ministers. The king could not show so much affection to the unfortunate Sudarsana as he showed to Satyajita. Thus sometimes having passed, one day the king, Dhruva Sandhi, went out on a hunting expedition in the forest, out with the bears and the deers and the elephants, boar, buffaloes, rhinoceros, and amused himself very much with this hunting affair. While he was hunting thus, a lion got very much enraged and from a bush suddenly came upon the king. That king of the beasts was already struck with arrows. Now seeing the king in front, he loudly roared. He angrily lifted his long tail high up in the air, and puffing up his manes, jumped up high in the air to attack and to take the life of the king. Seeing this, instantly the king took sword in his right hand and shield in his left, and stationed himself like another lion before him. The king's followers, one and all, angrily shot arrows at the lion. Then a loud uproar ensued, and all began to hurl arrows as best they could. But after all, the dangerous lion fell upon the king. Seeing thus, the king struck him with his sword. But the lion also tore asunder the king with his sharp nails. The king, thus struck by the lion, fell on the spot and died. The soldiers cried aloud and killed the lion with arrows. Thus both the king and the lion lay dead on the spot, and the soldiers turned back to the palace and gave all the information to the royal ministers. When the Munis heard the demise of the king, they went to the forest, performed the burning of the dead body of the king. The Maharishi Vasista performed duly on the same spot all the funeral ceremonies, thus ensuring the king the safe journey to the next world. All the subjects and citizens and the Munis, as well as Vasista, counseled each other to install Sudarsana on the throne as the king. The minister-in-chief, as well as the other members, proposed that as Sudarsana is the son of the first wife and the oldest, and being calm and quiet, beautiful and endowed with all royal qualifications, that he was fit for the crown. Maharishi Vasista said, the royal son, though not attained to proper age, is still religious, therefore he is really fit to be installed as king on the royal throne. When the wise aged ministers thus decided, Utajit, the king of Ujjain, a neighboring kingdom, on hearing the decision, hastened to the spot. He was the father of Lilavati, and on hearing the demise of his son-in-law, he came there so that his daughter's son might get the kingdom. Next, Virasena, the king of the country of Kalinga and the father of Manorama, came there also with his object that his daughter's son, Sudarsana, be the emperor. The two kings, accompanied respectively by their own armies and soldiers, began to counsel with the aged ministers, each trying so that his daughter's son may get the throne. Udajita made the question, who is the eldest of the two sons? Is it always the case that the eldest will inherit the kingdom? Will not the youngest ever be able to acquire it? On the other hand, Virasena was saying, O king, he who is the son of the first wife inherits the kingdom, and he that is the eldest. This I have heard from all the learned who are proficient in the knowledge of the sastras. Hearing Virasena, Udajita repeated, Sudarsana is not qualified with royal qualifications and other matters as this son of the late king, Satyajit. How can then Sudarsana inherit the throne, O king? Then quarrels ensued between the two kings. Now in this critical juncture, who is able to solve their doubts? Udajit then addressed the ministers. You all are prepared and prompted by selfish ends. You want to acquire a good deal of money by making Sudarsana the king. I have come to know by your gestures and postures that your decision is to the above effect. After all, as Satyajit possesses many more qualifications than Sudarsana, he has more claims to the throne, and therefore he is fit to occupy the throne and no other. Moreover, let me see, as long as I live, who can set aside the claims of a qualified prince in possession of an army and put forward the claims of a prince who has no qualifications at all. I am ready to fight, and I will tear the earth into 2 pieces by my sword. What more have you to say on this? Hearing this, Visarana addressed Udajita. I see the 2 boys' intelligence the same. You are intelligent. Kindly mention where is the difference. O king, the 2 kings quarreling with each other remained there. The subjects and the rishis, seeing this, were very anxious. Hundreds of tributary princes, wanting that the 2 kings might be involved into quarrels with each other, came to the spot with their soldiers, though they had to undergo great hardships in getting there. Many aborigines from the inhabitants of the area, hearing the demise of the late king, also appeared on the scene with the sole object to plunder. The 2 princes are minor, and hearing their parties at war with each other, many robbers from various adjoining countries came also there. Thus, when the war broke out between the 2 kings, the great confusion and turmoil arose within the kingdom. On the other hand, Uttajit and Virsita both became ready to fight. Thus ends the 14th chapter on the narration of the glories of the Divine Mother and the death of the Kosala king, Durga in the 3rd book of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. Jai Mahamaya ki, Jai Bole Baba ki, Jai.